guys? Jared Welch, RacingDudes.com, back for more Breeders' Cup coverage. We're 4 weeks away. This is it. We're in the final weekend of preps. This is really what it's all come down to. You know, we have one Friday through Sunday of Breeders' Cup preps over here in the United States, and that's it. As we get into this, we're going to start getting closer and closer, obviously, to knowing who's coming, who's not. In these turf races, it's always tricky with the internationals on who we think might be coming over and who might not. You know, so like I say, a month out, I'm going to give my best attempt here, who I think is coming, who I like. This is my top five. But be clear, like it's again, we don't know who's coming, who's going to run. We'll talk about a filly that may or may not run in the race. So it's very fluid still, so make sure you stay tuned for all the updates. But as we stand here today, October 6th, here is my top five Breeders' Cup turf contenders. So let's kick things off with number 5, Gufo. This one, he fell into this one just because he runs in all the races, right? You know, I don't love the horse. Certainly don't like to bet him, because he's overbet most of the time, and he could do things like he did last time out in the Kentucky Turf Cup, where he got beat by Red Knight and, you know, probably should have won the race. But then, you know, he wins the Sword Dancer, the race prior to that. So he's definitely classy enough to put in the race. You will see him. We'll talk about the Joe Hirsch a couple times. He's going to be running this weekend in the Joe Hirsch at Belmont at the Big A. He really is a horse to me. Is like, doesn't matter how he runs. He's going to run in this race, the Breeders' Cup Turf, because that's the race he can run in. You know, it's the only race he really can run in at the Breeders' Cup. And he's a classy horse. So really, he kind of defaults in the 5 spot for me. I thought he was too good, too classy to not be on the list. But I also don't want to rank him any higher. That's pretty much as simple as that. We'll see how he runs this weekend. I suppose he'll run well, right? Because that's what he does pretty much every time. We'll see if he can beat a horse. Well, you can see on my list here. Number 2, but we'll get to her in a second. Let's go to number 4, Broom. Aidan O'Brien. That's right. Right now, it seems like Broom will be running in this race. And, you know, last time out, finished 8th in the ARC. You know, Irish Champion Stakes, finished 7th. You know, came over here earlier this summer at Saratoga, finished 4th in that Sword Dancer race. So you kind of say, well, what are you doing, you know, Broom in the race? Well, listen, if Appleby brings a horse in this race, last year this horse finished 2nd in that turf race, you know, nearly beat Yabir, who, of course, Appleby, you know, we'll talk about Appleby here in a second with a couple. But listen, to me, it's simple. In the turf, if Appleby, if Aidan O'Brien, they bring a horse over, the horse is automatically a very serious contender. And, you know, Broom isn't a bad horse, just, you know, been running in very, very tough races overseas. So I think this horse, if the horse comes over to try again in the turf, you know, hopefully we get a little bit of a price because we did last year. And I think this horse will be in with a shot with Aidan O'Brien. So Broom is my number 4. Number 3, Nation's Pride. I really kind of went back and forth here. I almost put Nation's Pride number 1, to be honest, because Nation's Pride is a horse that kind of seems like has finally figured things out. You know, is a 3-year-old, and that's maybe a concern. You know, can the horse get it done here as a 3-year-old? But listen, back-to-back wins. You know, you can kind of write off the Belmont Derby because that was a kind of a dreadful ride. But back-to-back in the Saratoga Derby, and of course last time out in the Jockey Club Derby, just dusted them. The Jockey Club was really, really impressive. Nation's Pride, a horse for Appleby that just seems to be getting better and better and better. And going into this race, you know, the distance obviously will be right there. You know, I think the biggest thing for me was the seasoning, the 3-year-old. Like, I don't know. It seems like it's going to be, that's a tough ask, especially when I like another Appleby horse. And again, we'll see, you know, if my number 1 comes over here. Nation's Pride seems very clear. Obviously been over here all year or most of the summer. You got to think the horse is, you know, going to the Breeders' Cup. So Nation's Pride, number 3, I think is a serious player, no doubt. And here, this one might be the most serious player of them all. But how about Warlike Goddess? That's right, the filly, the mare, running this weekend against the boys in that Joe Hirsch race. And so Bill Mott has said specifically, if we're running in the Breeders' Cup, it's going to be in the turf because she needs to go long. She can't go shorter, like in the filly and mare. She needs to go on the turf. And so if she's going to run in the Breeders' Cup, it's going to be in this race, but we won't know if she's going to run in this race depending on how she runs in the Joe Hirsch against the boys. So this is kind of the test, right? How will she perform in the Joe Hirsch against the boys for the first time? Last time out in that Flower Bowl had no pace whatsoever and just an unbelievably bad ride, to be honest, from Rosario. What are you doing? But though it gave her way too much to do late, couldn't quite get it done, but needs to go long. If she can run like she has ran in this race against the boys, she might be my number one horse going in the race, but that'll be a tough ask to ask her to go against the boys and then go against the boys again in the Breeders' Cup turf against the likes of some of these Applebys and Aiden O'Brien. So for that reason, I'm sticking her at number 2. She'll have to have a big performance in this Joe Hirsch for me to consider moving her to the 1 spot. Now let's talk about the number 1 horse, Rebels Romance, Charles Appleby. Aiden O'Brien's got Broom. Nation's Pride and Rebels Romance both trained by Appleby. We'll see. Not confirmed that this horse will run over here, but it seems like he's definitely considering after back-to-back Group 1 wins over in Germany. Before that, won Goodwood and Newmarket. Just really nice performances. If this horse sounds familiar, it's because this horse won at the UAE Derby. That's right, on the dirt at Maidan last year. So the horse obviously has switched to the turf and has been very, very good. Seems like a horse that obviously travels well because it's been running all over the place. Also a horse that turf, 1.5 miles, seems like a horse that's really going to like. And again, if Appleby deems this horse, we want to run this horse here, this horse becomes an automatic serious player. So Rebels Romance has won 4 straight races. If he decides to run in this race here, the Breeders' Cup turf, I think he's the top choice. But we'll see. We'll see what he chooses, and let's see what Warlike Goddess does this weekend. Let me know in the comments below. What do you think of the turf? This is obviously a very, very exciting edition. You got some big-time horses that come over here every single year at the Breeders' Cup for this race. A lot of international stars. So who you like in this race? Who you looking at maybe blowing this thing up? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure you hit like on this video if you like the content. Subscribe to our channel by hitting that subscribe button. And again, if you like our stuff and you want to be alerted, hit that notification bell, ding, so you get alerted next time we have content. All right, I'll see you guys next time.